Hey there, friends and enemies. Joe Wrights here once again, and today I have a brand new episode of The Writer's Thoughts, the podcast where we talk about all your favorite geeky gaming, streaming, news, fun stuff. It's been absolutely a blast doing these, and I have my second guest on, AssassinRn, a great person I had the pleasure of meeting on Twitter at first, and it's been so much fun getting to know him. So, hello, how's it going, man?
Man, I am well. How are you? How's things? How's the new year? What we playing? How are you, man? It's my first time, I think, physically getting to actually talk to you.
Yeah.
It's usually on the other side of a chat or Twitter thread or however else. But man, I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it's been great, and I'm glad we can do this. This will be a great way to get to know each other a little bit better. My 2021 has been solid so far. I mean, no complaints. I can't really say much about it considering we're just kicking it off, but definitely a better start than 2020. I'll tell you that much. So
Right.
it's a low bar, but yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What kind of games are you into? Where do you stream? All that kind of good stuff.
I play a bunch of, I guess you could say it was the looter shooters, the games as a service genre.
Yep.
Real big into Destiny 2, Avengers right now. I can't just seem to stop playing that game.
Yeah.
I'm a registered nurse. That's main time job. Second time, I like to stream. I'm actually starting to get back here soon because our COVID patients are up right now. But I've been able to make it a little bit of time where I can actually play games and stream games. But I stream over at dlive.tv, a smaller of the streaming services, but definitely that's home, and everyone there is pretty much like family at this point.
Gotcha. Yeah, my buddy Ben, who everyone who stops by my Twitch channel knows very well. He is a nurse as well, so he's been telling me all about it. He got his vaccine today, so I'm very excited for him for that.
Oh hell yeah, man! I got mine 3 weeks ago, so
wow.
Maybe the Moderna one is what I've got. So I've got another a week or two before I get my second vaccine.
Gotcha.
But I'm hoping that the majority of the population gets it because it's going to be one of the ways we get back to a normalcy.
Yeah.
Like I miss cons. I miss
oh my God.
hanging out with people. I miss it, everything. Just
So,
the things that you wouldn't think that you would miss.
I had some things lined up to talk about, but first I wanted to actually get into that. You mentioned cons. I'm a huge fan of cons. I've been to Guardian Con here. I live in the Tampa Bay area, so Guardian Con / GCX has been here. I've been up to PAX East in Boston and some other events. What's your favorite con? Has there been one that you went to that was like far and away the best? What do you love about them, etc.?
So I haven't, and this is I hate it, and this is what I wanted to do in 2020 before, and I had plans, I had money saved up, I had everything, and of course the COVID took everything, everyone's plans just took them out. But I go to like a bunch of your heroes and villains, your wizard cons,
Yep.
and things like that, because I'm up here in the Nashville area.
Gotcha.
And so we, the wife and I, we've actually been down to Atlanta for heroes and villains, and that's truly one of the best cons I've ever been to. Because it's the most personable. The actors, the writers, artists, and stuff like that walk around in the crowd. They hang out with you. They do Q&As and stuff like that. Like with Stephen Amell, like I've drank his wine with him. I've played cornhole with him. Me and my wife have. It's just like stuff like that. Like I've given John Barrowman a hug. Just truly awesome. A phenomenal person. But like I really want to go to like PAX East or PAX South and stuff like that. But Guardian Con's a high up on my list.
Yeah.
And just never been able to make it out there.
I gotcha. Yeah, Arrow, man, that show was so good. It definitely, I think, changed the game with regards to superhero shows on TV. So that's awesome. He seems like a pretty down to earth kind of guy too.
Dude, he is absolutely like he is one of those that he doesn't meet a stranger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like he's so much fun.
Yeah, so I've been to some Comic-Cons and the like. The gaming conventions tend to be a bit different, and PAX compared to GCX Guardian Con, they're even very different. Like PAX is almost like a professional event, if that makes sense.
Right.
There's thousands of games on the floor, games you'll never hear about otherwise. Almost like all those Steam games that are like $3 or $4, they'll be
Right.
there. And so I went there a few years back, my first time, and just bounced from game to game, testing them all out and stuff like that. And at the time, I was just really getting started as kind of a creator, and I handed out my card and whatnot, and I made connections that I still have to this day. So for that reason, that con is amazing, right? Guardian Con is more like what you were saying. It feels very personable, like meeting family. Because like I when I'm there and I'm talking to Dr. Lupo for 20 minutes, you know what I'm saying, having a full conversation with him, or all of the various hosts of GCX, like Gathalion and them. They live in my area, but this is the only time where you get to actually interact with them on a regular basis. Plus, there's so many, like, I went there the last year that it was actually open, and there were so many people I met who I first time meeting in person, who we felt like longtime friends, and it was just like groups would form and everyone would get to know each other, and I made some friends that I'll have for the rest of my life probably through that. So they're so drastically different experiences. From each different con has its own like benefits and whatnot,
Right.
but they're so very different from each other. It's crazy.
I can't, like, it's just one of those things. Again, when I went to the Atlanta Reign esports for Overwatch. Went and watched them in I guess 2019 now, and I met so many people just from there. And like they had a little after party at a local game bar, and I've met so many lifetime friends. Like I've got a good friend Ping that she stops at my streams all the time and on Twitter. And I met her when she sat randomly at my table with me and my cousin, and we just ate and drank and talked games and talked streaming. And I miss that personal connection, and
Yep.
especially like when you center it down to like a certain video game like Guardian Con is. Like you got Destiny. I know it's not all just about Destiny, but a lot of those people there are big Destiny fans.
Yep.
I can't wait to experience that. I really hope that stuff like that comes back, either at the end of this year or next year.
For sure. It's meeting people at something like that is such a different experience because you already have that connection, but you'll also meet some folks who you may have been in fire teams with like a lot, but you just never met them face to face. You may have been on Twitter with them or whatever, and then finally meeting in person and then sitting down, having a meal, having a drink with them is just, it's so crazy. And then ultimately, like, I ended up waiting in line for like when Gambit was first being released, and we were there, and there was just a big group of people just all just shooting the shit, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend anybody who is a fan of Destiny or any of the games that are going to be present at something like GCX, make yourself there. It is well worth it. It's a lot of fun. Can be overwhelming. I know a lot of people deal with like anxiety issues, but it's 100% worthwhile if you can go there, especially if you can find one or two people to kind of group up with first, get to know them, and then you guys can kind of travel in a pack, because it can get lonely if you're there by yourself before you start to interact with people.
Right.
Well,
that's what I planned to do was because my wife, God bless her, she supports everything I do, but I don't see her going down there, and I don't have very many like my cousin might go or something like that. But I would be definitely one of the ones going down there solo.
Yeah.
And just striking up the first conversation I can.
So my wife went to PAX East with me the first year, and overwhelmed. It was like we were there all 4 days because I was helping to work a booth and stuff, and so she was just, it was too much for her. So now she'll go. Sometimes she'll meet some folks, say hello, but she won't stay the whole time for sure. The nice thing about GCX is it's at a hotel, and so if you're staying at the hotel or whatever, you can bring bathing suits, go to the pool, all that kind of stuff. So there are benefits to that as far as a con goes, but yeah, it's super interesting. But going solo to anything, I think, is tough. You just got to try to meet those friends, and definitely make your plans to link up beforehand, because the cell phone service, all that stuff gets crazy once you get in thousands of people. Well, staying on the same topic, Destiny Twitter has been aflame lately, just absolutely out of control, and it's been kind of crazy to watch. Um, we had talked about it a little bit, but you said you're more of a PvE player,
Right.
and it's just been even PvE players have been kind of complaining a little bit more than we've seen in the past with the amount of content. But I could go on about this for days because I feel like no amount of content will actually satisfy anybody. But really, what's been hot in the community has been the PvP side. What have you seen? What do you think about the kind of insanity that's been the backlash from the PvP community the last couple weeks, which is kind of nuts considering it's been over like the Christmas period almost, and like kicking off the new year, and they're
Right.
starting in right away,
Well, it doesn't really help that the developers and everything, been on a 2.5 week break for the holidays and everything, which everyone deserves that.
Yeah.
And like I don't play, like you said, I play a bunch of PVE, and I'll play PvP for bounties and things like that. But I play a mainly Gambit, and it's funny because I've never played Trials of Osiris.
Okay.
The main reason is I've never had a fire team to run with or anything like that. And I actually just started going to a new barber here the past couple of weeks, and found out he's a huge Trials of Osiris fan. And I actually sat in the chair with him yesterday, and he was telling me just how broken it is because of stasis. And he says it's like, was it the Hunter Dive, the
Shatter Dive,
the Shatter Dive? He says it's just so broken. He goes, I keep playing it, and he says, but I'm just not having fun with it anymore. And then there was I've seen on Twitter that one of the big time PvP Destiny streamers is quitting Destiny.
Hush, probably.
Hush, yes. And I'm just like, oh, to me, seeing that from an outsider, I guess, looking into the PvP landscape of it, I'm just like, oh, you have one of your to the point that Twitter was trending it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. And I don't know, man. I don't think, even when I played Crucible, I didn't think it was bad, but that just might be my my skill level.
I am a slightly more than casual Crucible player. I play my bounties, and then I do play for fun from time to time. I don't play Trials a lot. I play it on occasion. I've gotten pretty high up there in comp from time to time. I haven't played it a lot more recently comp, but I've been playing sixes a lot. I play all of Iron Banner, all that kind of good stuff. I don't feel like stasis is that bad personally. I not playing threes kind of changes the dynamic a little bit because I don't know how hard it is. I just think it's weird that the complaints are on being slowed or frozen when you have so many one-hit kill abilities. Like, you'd rather almost get slowed or frozen than one-hit kill, which is kind of crazy. Like last season with the artifact, I could use a sticky Void Titan grenade and one-hit kill people with my grenade. With just one simple grenade, which is kind of crazy. And I don't know if just not a lot of people knew about it, but it's things like that kind of have me confused at times, because Shatter Dive is nuts, but it really is helpful when you're facing a group that is clumped together, right?
Right.
Because you freeze and then you dive on them and it kills them. But if you're aware, you can backpedal away from it normally as soon as you see them chucking the grenade. So I don't get caught in it a whole lot, so maybe that's just me. But it's interesting. We go through the cycle in Destiny of highs, lulls, and then people saying that they're quitting, and then they either do quit and they start to branch out and play other games, or they don't quit and they continue to complain and play the game anyway. And it just happened. I mean, someone posted about the game dying with all new games coming out. This game has been, quote unquote, a dead game for 6 years now.
Right.
People have been talking about this game dead or dying. Meanwhile, numbers, player base wise, are about the same as they are last year. And maybe Forsaken was a little bit of a peak, but almost every year the numbers stay roughly the same. Like we don't see drastic fluctuations in the numbers, whether it's the PvE content or the PvP content. So I don't know. I guess I think people overblow this stuff to an extreme level, and it's kind of frustrating to see the same cycle repeating itself over and over again.
Yeah, and like another one of I'm pretty sure it was Hush. Like he put on he just feels neglected as a primarily PvP player. He feels neglected, and like I like to when I see stuff like that, I like to take a step back and again I'm a PvE main player, and I'm just like if you think about it, what really besides trials, is there really new content for PvP players? Like they don't get. I mean, there's not a whole non-new maps. They take some. They took some away with this one, and I mean, I get it. But it's like you are like you're a variety gamer. It's hard for me. I get bored with games pretty easily.
Yeah,
and especially since like Destiny's kept me year after year after year to keep playing it. Is truly saying something. But I also get weekly content. You know what I mean? Like we've got the Crow's Quest that I think ends this week, if I'm not mistaken, with this weekly reset.
Yeah, there was something new that just dropped. Yeah.
And so like I've got that to go back into. I mean, if you're all you're doing is PvP, what do you have your bounties and that's it? Yeah. I just don't. I don't know if there's a easy fix to that.
I will definitely agree that I think PvP needs some more love as far as the way the system is set up right now is not like the same thing that we have now in the Deepstone Crypt Raid where you can farm the end chest with tokens. That's what they need to do to bring into Trials of Osiris as well, in my opinion. I think that'd be an easy way to get repeatable rewards where you can kind of search for what you want, etc. I think that's a good idea. I think we're getting 2 new PvP exclusive, like not pinnacle weapons, but that type next season, just like we're getting them for Strikes and Gambit. New maps is an absolute must, 100%. I was disappointed a little bit not to see any Europa maps. I thought that would have been really cool. Have like a snow-themed map.
Right, especially during the winter season when you drop these DLCs.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that.
I don't know if they just didn't have the time to make the content, but I do think at some point PvP has been left behind a little bit. Now the counter to that I will say is that because of the changes, right? The update to the vaulting content, we've seen them be able to make patches, whether it's glitches, whether it's updating the meta, etc., significantly faster. So right. Because of that,
and these guys are working from home too.
Yeah, and that's what the PvP has been asking for the most, right? Seeing One-Eyed Mask dominate for 6 months, something like that, has frustrated PvP players a lot. So we fixed that. Stasis is frustrating, but at some point you just got to be like, okay, they threw this in because it's a new ability. It's going to be erring on the side of being stronger than not, when it first comes out. It's only been a couple months. You got to take a step back and be like, yes, this might be a little bit frustrating, but it's counterable. Let's figure out a way to fight Stasis instead of just complaining about it, and then understand that they probably will tone it down if it continues to dominate over time, and they're able to fix things first. I think the reward structure and the lack of new maps and such, and the lack of new modes, that's what's hurting PvP more than anything. Mm-hmm. And all that said, the numbers for the player base are roughly the same from this time last season in Crucible. So it's not like the community as a whole is hurting. It's those at the high end that play day in and day out.
Your guys with the most eyes on it.
Yeah. And that comes down to, like you said, I play Destiny 2 days a week, and it's perfect that way. I love Destiny every time I log in because I can play it. If a bunch of new quests drop, I can play it for 8 to 10 hours in a day, or I can play it for 2 to 3 hours if it's just some Iron Banner I just want to play and have fun. But it's not something that I feel like should be played for 60 hours a week and provide that amount of content, because that's impossible.
Right. I feel like that's with any game,
Yeah.
really. I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit there and play the same game. But I mean, there's pros that's where their community is. That's where their fan base is. Like Glad, he switches and he'll play like a couple story games. Like he played God of War last year.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure he said, don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure he took a dip in viewership.
Yeah.
And then when he came back to Destiny, it upticked more. But I don't know, man.
Well, that's the hard part of being a creator, right? Like at some point you need to juggle treating it strictly like a job, where you play a game you might not enjoy all the time because your numbers will be there. But that takes away what makes this job potentially a great one, versus understanding you're going to take a dip, but planning better for that, right? Too many creators, in my opinion, go all or nothing. They're like, I'm playing Destiny, I'm only playing Destiny. And then it comes a point where they're not having fun, and they're like, I'm not playing Destiny anymore. And it's like cutting it off like that is where you're going to see a dramatic dive. Glad took a dip in some of his games, but he also enjoyed some decent viewership for some of them as well, especially when he played some of the harder, like super difficulty level games. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what he excels at, and that's where people would still stop by. Not everyone's going to keep hanging out if you switch games. That's just part of the way streaming and content creation works. But at the end of the day, you still got to be happy with what you do. And someone like Gethalion or Professor Broman, those are two examples I would point to who have been doing this for a long time. And they understand that, yes, they'll take a temporary dip playing other games, but you never know when you're going to find the next game to replace Destiny as your big viewership game, unless you branch out and try.
And how long have you been streaming for total now?
Total is about 3 years. Not really as serious until this last year or so.
And that's because I met you through Artifice, who's one of your guys in the clan that was it TPWN.
Yeah, he's in Team Ponage.
Yeah, I can't stand Artie. I can't stand that kid. But because I was a Destiny streamer on DLive. There's like me and maybe two others that stream it consistently, rather. And I reached out on Twitter one time. I said, "Hey, I want to find more creators that play Destiny," and he immediately tagged you.
Yeah.
And thus our Twitter relationship was born.
Yep.
But how do you are absolutely killing it. Like you're doing well on Twitch. Your YouTube is like you're constantly posting to YouTube, and not just one game. You're posting multiple things. Like you've done Avengers builds, your Destiny content. You've got your Genshin Impact content. How do you? My question to you is, how do you do it? Like, how do you find the drive, the motivation? How do you know what to post, and how do you do you enjoy it and everything like that? It's just, it's a big question, but
a lot of it's trial and error, right? So when I was first started streaming, I was all Destiny all the time, and then I stopped, and my numbers took a dramatic dip. But I definitely realized that I was not happy just playing one game. And then as I started to look into YouTube and do that a little bit more, I kind of figured out what videos do well, what ones maybe not do as well. But I also understand that there are a lot of people who I'm fortunate enough that follow me for me, my personality, etc. So sometimes I put out a video and I'm like, okay, this will be useful for a lot of people who play Avengers who might want to look at the build that I'm using, right? Because I really love the game. It allows me to show off what I'm doing and how I'm doing the game well. Because some people just struggle with that, figuring out what perks work well together, what armor to use, etc. And so I figured I might as well post those. But then there's other times where I do clip compilations or something like that, or weekly highlights. Those are more based for the folks that normally watch me who can't be around all the time. right?
Right.
So I try to do a combination of that and just whatever seems fun at the time. Whether it's a single game playthrough, I don't like streaming single player games too much because I feel like I get too engrossed in the story and I don't interact enough with
Right. I'm
chat.
the same way.
So if I play one outside and I can edit it for YouTube, it's easy to kind of talk a little bit while I'm playing for that and then trim it down so that way there's not like large gaps and where I'm just kind of traveling or listen to the story or whatever the case may be. So that made it easier to kind of separate that because I knew where my strengths are. I also have been fortunate enough to find some folks to play with that I can have fun with whenever we run games, no matter what game it is. So I have other friends who are variety gamers as well, so I can play a game and we can do really well. And I'm like, all right, I'm not feeling this game today. Let's move on to something else. We'll do that, and it feels seamless. And then we can kind of make content off the other game as well.
That's one of the biggest things for me is, and that's one of the reasons I started streaming. I know it's actually, I mean, the reason I started streaming is because I just wanted to meet other gamers and to group up and stuff like that. That was the reason I put out the call on Twitter. I was like, hey, I really enjoy playing Destiny. I want to find more people that enjoy it and make content out of it. And like once you find your niche little group, it's all downhill from there, or uphill rather.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much fun, and I feel like the content benefits from it. Because I mean, if you're having fun and visibly, and everyone can tell, I mean, everyone's going to come to that. No one wants to watch someone just down all the time, and just hate what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And oh god, I love it. Video games are so cool.
Yeah, there's a select number of people who are so skilled that their personality doesn't have to dominate, but that's such a small number, and everyone wants to make it off of their clips, their highlights, their top plays. Mm-hmm. But if you go back and watch a huge creator who does their best of, like Lupo, like Tim the Tatman, their mix of cool plays, funny moments, fails, all of that, because all of that was what makes it fun. Right?
Right.
I am terrible at Soulsborne games, and I played Bloodborne on stream one time, and chat laughed and laughed and laughed at me because I was so bad at it. But it was fun, and I knew it was like, I'm only playing this for so many hours to fulfill it. It was for a charity goal. So I was like, all right, I can do this for a charity goal. Everyone had a good laugh, except for me. And then it was just fun. That's what I encourage people to do is like find whatever is going to make you excited and make you happy. And if not everyone's going to be good at builds necessarily, but you can focus on things that are good for the algorithm, like Easter eggs, like end game content, like funny meme content. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of ways to go if you want to create content in certain ways. For like YouTube or TikTok or other platforms outside of Twitch or DLive as well, and that's what I would encourage you to find is whatever appeals the most to you, because if you find it funny, if you find it fun, somebody else will as well.
Video games are just so like just such a good way to connect. You know what I mean? We talked about cons and Twitter, and oh man, that's just it's so exciting. And I can't wait to make content with you other than the podcast here and there. And dude, it's just a laugh and hang out and just be people.
100%. And that's the other thing that frustrates me when you can see folks getting so down on a game like Destiny and so frustrated with it. It's like, there are thousands of games out there that you could be playing with. There's people that you could be trying to go game with. And to sit there and be unhappy with a game is unnecessary, in my opinion. Like, you can go do literally anything else. You can play a single player game, a multiplayer game, a shooter, MMO. There's so many games. And to just be down on one endlessly, is mildly infuriating for me because I feel like it's just a waste.
Right. I don't get there's so much negativity in the world anyways.
Yep.
I don't understand, especially like your internet trolls and things like that. I don't understand. Life is too short. If you are unhappy doing something, do something else. I
Yeah.
mean, there's hundreds. I mean, there's thousands of games out there.
Yep.
If you don't like Destiny or any of that content or anything like that anymore, there's tons of other games as a service. I mean, hell, you could go play Godfall. I've heard only horrible things about that game, but I mean, you got Avengers, Godfall. There's Anthem. I wish that game was so much better than what it was. I mean, there's just other things that you don't have to. I feel like you just don't have to be a one game content creator or player, really.
No, that's exactly right. And for me, it's funny. I enjoy Avengers for what it is. I enjoyed Anthem for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I probably am one of the few that got my money's worth out of both of those, even if I know they could have been so much better with some tweaks. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Avengers is supposedly getting a raid here in the next couple months. I will play the hell out of that. I'm not gonna lie. I've got my Thor ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So I just have to find a crew to run it with, and
And the Crystal Dynamics, they know what they're doing. They realize they've royally messed up, and they've said things. They're fixing it. I mean, Kate Bishop, I felt like that was a wonderful addition to the game.
sure,
And she's a lot of fun to play as.
100%.
She's different than the other characters. I'm a little concerned with the next DLC being Hawkeye because that's to me very similar to her. So I'm keeping an open mind on it. But like Anthem I was so excited about like the Legendary Edition.
Yeah,
It was to me it was going to be my game of the year for 2019.
yep,
And I got it. I did love it. I played the beta. I played the alpha. But it's like you and Elmer Fudd Gaming were talking about last week. It's the end game is something big with games like this. If you can have a great story time game, complete the story, and then get to the end game, and then if half of your player base falls off, then what's to come back for? You know what I mean?
yeah.
But with Avengers, I feel like they're consistently trying to update it. And I mean, I've got faith in Crystal Dynamics for this. I feel like they're here for the long haul, and I'm all on it. I'm on that hype train.
I think we'll look back at Avengers and when after they release the story content from the different characters, say 6-8 months from now, and be like, okay, this has become a very good game. And it's kind of similar to some of the older Borderlands games that were not great when they first launched. Were good, but not perfect. But then once you got some of the DLC, once you got some of the alternate characters, once you got some of the different weapons that got released and stuff, the game just was on a different level. And I feel like Avengers, if we get Hawkeye, even though he's going to be similar, it's probably easier for them to create those mirror characters like you see in something like Smash Bros, where they've got similar attributes but a little bit different. But then as long as they follow that up relatively quickly with your Black Panther and Spider-Man, doesn't matter, right? You get that. The Hawkeye will be good for Clint Barton. Hawkeye will be good for the story content, continuing that story, which I think the Kate Bishop story quest was pretty solid. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the no spoilers or anything, but that first little Tachyon Rift story,
yeah,
and how they tied it all in. Oh, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh man, they did a good job with that.
Their storytelling, even in the main game, has been very good. So that's why I'm kind of cutting them some slack. And again, if this raid comes out and it's not perfect but solid, I think it'll set up the game to have a long future, and I'm excited to see that as well.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what year 2 looks like for them come November of this year. Hopefully we get coronavirus under control, where people can actually go back in studio. Because I
Yeah.
feel like that a lot of our game studios are really just across the board. I feel like that's going to help them
Yep.
out. In which, I mean, by all means, they launched this in the middle of a pandemic, and it's not a bad game. It's truly not a bad game. It's just, if you're a hardcore looter shooter or games as a service player, the end game, it's lacking a little bit. I mean, there's still stuff to do and cosmetics to get and ranking up and things like that, but oh man, a Black Panther story mode is just gonna be so much fun.
I feel like the biggest problem with the games as a service is the fact that everyone wants it to be the next Destiny instead of being its own thing. Like, if you look at the Battle Royale genre, which has kind of expanded over the last few years, the ones that succeed are the ones that do their own thing. You look at Fortnite started off, obviously, as the main big one. You had PUBG before that, but Fortnite was the one that blew up. Mm-hmm. And it had building, it had the kid-friendly animations, etc. Then you had something like Apex Legends, which adds individual characters with their own abilities that had a little bit of variety.
You got ping system, the ping reviving system. Oh,
all of that has elevated it, but it feels unique. Then you got Warzone, which feels like COD on a huge map, which is something we'd never seen before, and it worked really, really well. I mean, we had Blackout, but that game was kind of not.
Yeah, Blackout was fine. It didn't really do. I don't feel like, to me, it didn't really add anything new.
Yeah.
Other than like putting your zombies, had your little zombie POIs in there.
The biggest problem with Blackout for me was that everything took too long. Finding the attachments for the guns, like in Apex, you can go find the attachments quickly, and you can still play well with a gun without attachments. In Blackout, it felt like you had to have the attachments, or you just weren't gonna win a gunfight. And spending 10 minutes looking for those attachments was a royal pain, and that's what I didn't like about it. But I've played almost every BR out there. Spellbreak, I played Hyperscape, I played Realm Royale. I'm a big Spellbreak guy as well. But I played all of these, and the ones that really do well are the ones that put their own twist on it.
Well, let me ask you this. What do you think that, because I mean, there's rumor that Halo Infinite's going to have its own BR. Do you think it's going to have anything revolutionary or anything new that's going to make it succeed, or do you think that just the Halo name will do it?
So as long as the combat feels like Halo, they don't need to do as much revolutionary as a fresh title. The reason for that is the Halo feels great. People go back and still play Halo titles because they just enjoy the game. You don't earn any more rewards, really. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lot to do besides just play the game, and it feels fun. As long as they bring the Halo feel, the guns from Halo, the vehicles possibly, all that kind of good stuff, I feel like it'll be a success. Just like if Destiny made a BR or BR type of game, I feel like it would be super successful because you might not earn weapons long term, but the gunplay feels really good in Destiny. You've already got some setup for that to be there. I feel like that's the key, and they could put their own twist on it. I don't think we'll ever see that, but it would be interesting and something that I think would be successful.
Oh, that just made me really excited. I've never even thought of like Destiny doing a BR, but that would be so much fun.
Yeah,
having like a squad of 4 or a fire team of 3, I guess technically. Yep. And just dude, that'd be so much fun.
Yeah, and you drop in, you have maybe just like Apex, you pick instead of picking a character, you pick a class. Right. Night Stalker Hunter or something like that, and you don't get the full gamut of their abilities. Maybe it's a darkness zone, so you only get the grenade or the melee or something like that, but you still get the guns. You can find, instead of just like in Fortnite, instead of picking up guns on the ground that are whatever, you could have blue guns, you'd have purple guns, and you could have exotic guns, maybe come out of supply drops, something like that. I feel like it could. There are ways to set it up so it could definitely work. Not that I've thought about this a lot. As a fan of BRs and also looter shooters, the crossover appeal I feel like is endless for some of these games.
Uh-huh. That's one of the things I'm most excited about this year is the crossplay we're eventually going
Oh,
to get with Destiny.
I can't wait.
I I feel like it's. I mean, I know you. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. Y'all talked about it last week. It's going to bring so much. I feel like it's going to bring a lot more players back and
Yep.
or into it, especially with Xbox Game Pass. I mean, and it's already free as is, but with Game Pass you get all the DLC.
Yep.
And I can't wait, man. This is going to be a good year. I feel it down in my bones. Last year was so bad. I just don't feel
Yeah.
like we get any worse. Knock on wood with that statement, but
Yeah. No,
oh,
I absolutely agree. I think there's so much potential this year. And we'll see. Some games are probably going to knock it out of the park. Some will struggle. Games like, I feel like a game like Destiny is going to bounce back. And you will look at it when when Volta Glass drops and everyone is re-excited about the game. They'll probably
right.
drop some new stuff in Crucible. I hope if they do that one season, I think that'll be a big boon, and folks will come back because they always do. That's just how Destiny has had games lining up to knock it down for the entirety of its 6 years that it's been around, and it's still chugging. It still has a robust player base, and I think there's a lot of potential for it to still go on from here.
Nah, it's a dead game.
Oh man, that's that statement the worst. Literally 2 months after the game dropped, people are posting dead game, and look at
Oh,
where it is now.
I hate that. I hate that little trend on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Well, speaking of ongoing games, this is one that caught me and is blows my mind actually. For the 100th year running or something of that nature, we've got Minecraft dominating the charts on YouTube. How in the world is there a game that has been top of the genre, top of everything for so long, and just continues to turn on, despite it being just like looking like a kid's game? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, and it's a little 8-bit game, and I mean I've played it over the years. I mean I got a 14-year-old now, but like a couple years ago we played it both on the PlayStation 4 and everything. And hell, I played it when I was her age. You know what I mean? And it blows my mind. Like I mean, right now, Courage JD, from 100 Thieves, is
Yep.
sitting there playing it, and every time he dies or something like that, he's donating $100 to a viewer or whatever. But I just I don't know if it's the peacefulness of it, the little the dopamine you get from building something and seeing your creation being built, but that is absolutely crazy to me that it is still so high up where it is. I mean, and I watched the Dr. Lupo 24-hour charity stream, and he played it off and on throughout that stream, and he played with I guess the new shaders where it's supposed to look more realistic, and that blew my mind. I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing, and the way that Mojang keeps updating that game as well and putting new story content in it, and then hell, now you've got Minecraft Dungeons. I don't get it. But I mean, that's awesome though.
Yeah, I have two 11-year-old and 10-year-old who both play it now, and they more than just playing it, they watch a lot of creators on YouTube playing it, and to hear them talk about it, I'm like, you've been watching this game since you before you understood what Minecraft was at all. Like, you just wanted to watch like the creators or whatever. But the fact that they can continue to make content off of it, one, shows the creativity of the people making the content, but two, just the versatility of being able to do whatever the hell you want in the game, it probably speaks a lot to it. That's why game like Grand Theft Auto is so popular too, especially the
Hmm.
Grand Theft Auto Online. You can go in, you can role play, you can set up an entire almost adventure, like you can create your own campaign, all that kind of stuff. I feel
Create
like
your own
that's
life.
I feel like that's the next step we're gonna get to with games that want to be super successful, like MMOs, but without direction. If if that makes
Right.
sense.
I don't, man. Grand Theft Auto. I know a lot of people are talking about how cross generational, I guess is the word, because started with the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and now here we are still being updated and played for the PlayStation 5. And I'm guaranteeing Minecraft is going to get an update of some sort for both the PlayStation and the new Xbox. Man, I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
and my kid's the same way. Like Minecraft books, Minecraft. She watches. I forget who it is. I've got a cousin who's, he's younger. He's maybe 8, 9, 10, and like he's got a favorite YouTuber that he watches like weekly and daily and stuff just on Minecraft content.
Yeah.
And I like to sit there and think, I'm like, well, if I wanted to tap into that, what do I need to do? But I just don't. I don't feel like I could make any content out of that game as well as some of these other people do, and it just blows my mind.
It's got to be the personality, right? It's like you got to be able to hype up something that seemingly is mundane. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the challenges they do, I've seen because of my kids, and I'm like, I don't know what's special about this, but they're hype. The people they're playing with are hype, talking a little bit of trash and killing each other and stuff, and kids eat it up, and that's, like I said, good for them for being able to do that, because it's so interesting. I feel like I'm a boomer talking about it, but I just watching it is just so intriguing because I don't get the trend. But I can also see, you look at Skyrim. Skyrim, that's a game that could be made with PS5 and Xbox One updates,
Dude,
and after being on the Samsung fridge or whatever,
being on the Echoes and everything else.
So that's a game again where you have a lot of freedom. There's like something like I read something. Oh, I don't know the percentage, but a small percentage of people actually finish the story. Most of the people just wander around, kill stuff, collect loot, torment city guards, get an arrow in the knee, and then move on. And I feel like the more freedom you give a player, the more potential for content there is.
Now, do you think Fortnite will be at that level, or do you think it's going to stay around as long as Minecraft has?
See, I think it'll stay around for a long time, and the reason is they update it very well with their creative mode and allowing that freedom, the flexibility. So I feel like if anything, the BR aspect of it will trend downwards over time, but the rest of the game will stay alive. And I feel like Fortnite gets a lot of flack because boomers are bad at it and going against super sweaty kids who are cranking 90s on them all day long. But if you look at their creative mode and some of the other things, some of their limited time modes that they put in and all that stuff that aren't the BR, they're super open for what you can do. And
that's just what they did with Halo with, what was it, Gulch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or they just had like a limited 2-week run or something of it.
Yes.
And that's just something I never, ever would have put any kind of money on.
Yeah.
And their creative mode, I've seen what some of the people can make in that game. And I guess that's it. I guess that's the secret formula, like you were saying, is to just the ability to go in and make that game yours, essentially. I guess that's it. I don't know.
Some games do really well with portions of that, right? Like Warframe allows folks to design armor and whatnot in their game, like cosmetics. And then if they select one of those to use, they actually pay the person who created that a portion of the sales for that. So I think that is where, like, using the community creativity is where some of these games could go to the next level. And that's the only thing that's missing. It's hard, like, you're not going to see that from something like Destiny because it's a 6-year-old game, right? And it was designed for consoles, so you're a little limited with what you can do. But some of these games have the structure to have the freedom to introduce things that are community creations that are like take the burden off the developers almost and allow someone who's like, I have this brilliant idea, let's see if it works. And it might just take off. You never know.
Right. Well, that's how what Prop Hunt started, especially like I know it's in Call of Duty now, but that started with what, Gary's Mod? Is that the? I think that's the game that, and that just took off. And I mean, look at it's in Call of Duty, and just about every Treyarch developed one. It's in every single one of them now.
Yeah, it's crazy how this stuff kind of pops up and takes off. It's pretty cool, and I think the more that developers can harness their community for creativity, for positivity, all that kind of stuff, the better the game will be off in the long run. The next thing I wanted to bring up is there were some leaks for what's going to be announced on the Switch coming up, and this was actually surprising to me because I don't know if this has ever happened. The new Call of Duty is looking to potentially get released on the Switch. Has any COD
the Cold War?
Yeah, Cold War. Has any COD? I know COD Mobile is huge right now,
right?
But I can't remember a COD, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla was on the list, and games like that. And I'm like, the Switch is getting way more mainstream titles that we might not have otherwise seen. And that's got me very curious on what else is going to come out. Because I'm so used to seeing like RPGs and traditional Nintendo content on there. But seeing these mainstream games like a COD is a little bit mind-blowing for me.
My only question with that is can the hardware handle it?
Yep.
I mean, obviously it's not going to run as good as your traditional boxes and your PCs, but like they've had Call of Duty World at War. I remember that one on the Wii and Wii U, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They've got the Assassin's Creed collection. I think it's got the Ezio collections on there. Maybe, I'm pretty sure. But that's if they put Valhalla and Cold War on there and start going more mainstream, then that makes me a little excited. The Switch is a phenomenal hardware and piece of technology, and I really wanted to succeed. But that, I don't know, man. I just don't know if, because they got The Witcher 3 on there, and that runs as well as you'd think it would. It doesn't look the best, but I mean, you're playing it on a Switch. Yeah. You're not going to have your big beautiful games like you do now.
Yeah,
but that's crazy if that's true, and we start seeing like our big titles, like you would start seeing Cyberpunk if this is true. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think like big games that are coming out or that have come out.
If we had glitches on other consoles, I can only imagine what would happen on the Switch with Cyberpunk. Holy.
They probably just say, you know what? No, we're going to leave that one out.
Yeah, that's not it. But I know, like, we played Fortnite on the Switch and had no problems with it.
Right.
So I know the connectivity is there. You can play online versus other players, all that kind of stuff. I think I read, I don't know if it's out now, but I think at some point there was talk of Apex going to...
Oh yeah, that was supposed to drop at the end of last year in 2020, but with everything being pushed back, I'm pretty sure because it's still originally it's what they said they were going to put it on, and I'll never forget that video. And then they said coming to Nintendo Switch this fall, and then it said along with crossplay, and that's when everyone kind of lost their minds. That I was watching content creator wise.
Yeah,
but dude, I think Apex will do well there. It just. I mean, like Fortnite will. I don't think it'd be a big problem, but it's your more technology demanding games that I feel like would be the issue.
According to this, it's already out on the Switch. Oh no, it will arrive in shortly in February. That was old. It looks like it's February or March is looking like when it's gonna be on the Switch.
Okay,
but it's so interesting because one. I don't know how I feel. Like, who is the market for playing? Like, I like single-player games that I can take on with me. I like Smash Brothers and Nintendo content. I don't know. Final Fantasy Remake, that's another one that looks like it might be making its way to the Switch. But I don't know who is going to be playing COD or Apex on the Switch unless you're just logging in, if it's cross save, to claim some things to do a limited time event when you're not at your PC or your console or whatever. Otherwise, I don't know who is playing that because you're at especially if you're in crossplay lobbies, you're at such a different disadvantage.
Severe, right? I mean I think to me, story games would be your niche audience. I just don't see that being. When I think of a Switch, I think of one, Super Smash Brothers, Luigi's Mansion, Pikmin, stuff like that. But I don't. Even with Fortnite, I wouldn't see myself playing a multiplayer game because with the Switch, I just want to pick it up, sit down on the couch or something, and get lost in a story game. Like even with Skyrim on it, yeah, it's a story game, but it's harder to play. Like you have to have like a good controller for that to me. But I don't know. I don't know. If that's true, I'm very, very, very curious to see what the sales numbers are and what the demographics of those numbers are.
Yeah, it's very interesting, especially when I feel like with Fortnite, you have such a huge player base that when we played Fortnite on the Switch, it felt like we were playing all brand new players, basically.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the disadvantage of them being on a PS4 or whatever wasn't that great because they were not good because they didn't know they just learning how to play the game. Whereas I feel like COD is not going to be that. I feel like there might be people who will be like, I'm going to go dominate the COD Switch scene and turn off.
Could you imagine?
That's what I mean. Okay, tell me that's not something that would happen with the COD community. I don't know how much you pay attention to them.
Now that you're saying that, if that happens, you heard it here first. I'm going to be a Switch Call of Duty Cold War professional.
I'm gonna put up 6-0 KDs all the time, just absolutely going crazy with it. But I mean, people will do anything to be at the top of a leaderboard, regardless of how it actually looks or whatever. So I don't know. COD people they're such an interesting community because you'll have people who will camp their way to high KDs and high rankings and stuff like that. And for what? Like they're not going pro or anything. Like why? I guess I don't understand why people play in a way that seems unfun.
Right.
To brag about stats that don't really matter.
No, there were people like that in high school, because Call of Duty's been around forever at this point. And I've never been that player like you and Elmer Fudd were talking last week. It's like sitting in Warzone, like at the top of a house and just sitting there the whole time. The whole 20-25 minutes you're in the game. I can't do it. Like I'd fall asleep and everything else, but I'm one of those ones, like I'll snipe for a little bit, but I'm running around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just I couldn't do it.
My first experience with solos in Warzone, I was looting. I went up in the building. There was a guy prone. He killed me. I went to the gulag, won my gulag, came back at a different location, looting, went to an attic. There was a guy crouched, waiting for me at the top of the stairs, killed me.
Just sitting there watching the steps. Oh.
Both. That's how both those guys killed me. And I swear they did that. They got their guns and they did not move from those attics the entire game. And I was like, I'm never playing solos in this game again. Like, I don't care if it means I'm not a good Warzone player because I don't play. No, I'll play quads and trios all day, every day. Even duos. One person dies, the other teammate is just camped in a hidey hole. Right. We call them rats. They're just scurrying in the attics or on top of roofs and stuff. And they'll never move, and it's infuriating. But it's just the way some people want to play the game. Just like I was playing Destiny PvP today, and there was a 6-stack in Iron Banner who were literally walking next to each other the entire game.
Some of that stuff like that is very frustrating for someone who, works like a 8 to 5 or whatever, and then you're like, oh, I'm sitting down. Oh, Iron Banner's back. I'm gonna go sit there and play that tonight, and then just get totally dominated. Like it would take maybe 2 games of that happening to me, and I just immediately would turn the console off. Like, yep, that's it for me. That was fun.
Yeah, no, I definitely get it. It's it's such an infuriating experience when it happens. Luckily, in Iron Banner, it's over, it's done with. You move on to the next game and drop the lobby, and you don't have to face it again. But
right,
they just were lined up in a way. I think we got them a couple of times where we wiped the whole squad because of that. But it's like, it's when you turn a corner, like you slide or jump around a corner, and there's just 6 guns aimed at you. You're like, oh, what's the point? Not me. What are we doing here? So it's pretty funny. But anyway, anything else you wanted to chat about? I know we covered a wide range of things today, but
yeah, no, this was fun. No, that was there was a lot. Like you were talking about before the show. There's not a whole lot of news or that very many things, but dude, this was fun. I love podcasting. I'm gonna have to have you out on my podcast soon, and I'm almost just about to demand it. So
yeah, 100%. We'll do it now that the schedule's lined up. It's after the holidays. We'll definitely make it happen. I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out. We'll have to do get some gaming in, get on your podcast as well. But I appreciate you. Now that you're in my Discord, we can connect on there if you ever want to play some games and whatnot as well, because if there's any games that you play that you're interested in, that you want to run, I am an open book. I'm always down to play with new friends, and I appreciate that. So yeah, that's it. Thank you everyone for tuning in, stopping by and hanging out. Make sure you like and or rate the podcast on your favorite platform. It does help me out. But that's going to do it for today. Appreciate you all, and I'll catch you all later.